Alright, so let's get in here and start taking a look at our concept. Right now we have a pretty stylized looking lizard man. We're going to note that he doesn't have a lot of armor pieces or clothing. That's not going to be the focus of this tutorial. We're going to be focusing mainly on the anatomy of him. If you want to go in later and add any armor pieces, any clothing, any kind of additional story elements that are going to help sell this guy, that's definitely what you should do. Unfortunately, we just don't have time to get in here and talk about the minutia of making that kind of stuff. So in this module, our focus is going to be on blocking everything in. We need to get our main shapes for our head, we need to get the torso, we need to get the shoulders in there, we're got to get that nice kind of shape, the nice bell shape. From this, get a basic arm going on. Down into the hands. I'm going to use a base hand that I have for now. I'm just going to use it as a placeholder, and then we're going to move forward and I'll actually sculpt it later. Then we're going to take all of this and mirror it over to the other side. We're not going to worry too much about the whole tail right now, because what I want to focus on is blocking in the majority of the main shapes. So for this, you're going to need a copy of ZBrush. So if we swap on over to ZBrush, which I have right here in the back, which you may have noticed, we're going to come in here, and I'm going to go to my light box, and we're just going to go and do the default Dynawax. Don't need to save the project. So we got a skin shade material, Dynamesh is already turned on, and mirroring's already turned on. That's generally why I like to use the default Dynawax as just at least a starting point. Next we're going to use this see-through function. We're going to switch back to Photoshop. We need to zoom out on this a little bit and scoot it over. Get it kind of centered. There we go. So we have this slider up here to see through, just to help us get the main shapes in here. We're going to use this ball as our main kind of shape to build off of. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our insert brush. We're going to insert a cylinder. We're just going to drag. We're going to rotate using R. Come back to the front, kind of get this. You can set up a camera to auto lock to this. It's not really, if you really want to. Right now I'm alright without it. Just kind of get it roughly the right shape. Switch bit. We're going to control click to go back to our ball. Right now these are one subtool and they are still combined. So we're going to go to our side view. Going to turn off see-through for a moment. And we need to think about this as a torso. Make sure we have perspective turned off for now. So a torso thrusts forward a little bit. So let's make sure we get this kind of thrusting forward shape. Now we're going to pull the bottom of this down a little bit to simulate a pelvis. Because this guy doesn't have a true pelvis, we need to kind of fake it. Turn back on see-through a little bit. Just kind of get the right proportions of these shapes. Okay. Now we need to simulate these arms. So for that, instead of inserting, we're going to append a sphere. Switch to our sphere. We're going to turn off see-through for a moment. Now let's scale this guy down. And what I'm building right now is I'm building that deltoid. Let's turn on see-through, get a general sizing. And we need to make sure that we're centered on that. Go to our move brush, get a little bit of that deltoid shape. And do that a little bit. We need to do that from the top view so that way it's kind of get that wrapping. Doesn't need to be perfect for now, it just needs to be on there. Okay, so now we're going to, on this guy, we're going to insert a cylinder. Brush insert, cylinder. Now let's insert a cylinder to this point. And yeah, that's too big, but whatever. Rotate it. Go to our move brush. Just kind of loosely adjust it. I'm not too worried about it being perfect right now. I'm just trying to block in general shapes. We're going to insert another cylinder. Brush insert cylinder. This is going to be for our forearm. Scale it down a little bit, moving in at the wrist with our move brush. And then we're going to go to our inflate brush. Give it a moment to catch up. Brush IN. Just kind of inflate and smooth using shift as needed. We're going to rotate this out a little bit. Just got to make sure that it's inflated around this. Doesn't need to be perfect. Let's turn off see-through for a moment so we can see what we're doing a little bit better. Going to come with our move brush and just kind of get a general shape. Don't worry about it being perfect right now. It just needs to be in there. One of the beauties of ZBrush is that you can infinitely adjust things. So that's alright for now. We don't need to worry about being too accurate. So what we're going to do for this is first we're going to polygroups and we're going to do an auto groups. Then we're going to go to deformation. We're going to mirror it over. I have a tendency to work on the right, even though the mirror function mirrors left to right, so you might see me do this a few times. So hit mirror and weld in the geometry menu. So geometry down here in modify topology, mirror and weld. And now I've got a subtool that is what we were just working on. Now that I see them both together, I kind of want to come in here and rotate you out a little bit more. Turn on symmetry. And rotate you guys a little bit more. And rotate you a little bit more. Alright, next we need to bring in our head. So for that, we're going to append another sphere. And the head's the tricky part for this concept. I've tried this once already. I knew that this was going to be a little bit of an awkward area. Not because the head itself is particularly difficult to sculpt, more because of the way it fits onto the body. Generally, you would go from the triceps to the neck muscles up to the head, and the head would sit quite a bit higher than the rest of the body. I made a model earlier where the head sat really, really low to kind of match the concept, and it just didn't feel quite right anatomically. This is a little bit awkward. So instead, I'm going to simulate a little bit of what we have in normal anatomy and bring the head up a little bit, because I feel like it has a little bit better flow to this shape. And all I'm using right now is the move brush. Just to get that feeling alright. Now right now I look at this from a side view. Let's hide the arms. And I don't like this shape. So I'm going to bring the head forward a little bit. I'm going to come back to our torso. This is supposed to be a very snake-like creature, so I want it to feel like it's got a lot of curving shapes to it. So give it some curvature. Now we're going to have to come back to our arms and make sure they're still sitting alright. And those don't look too bad. So our head right now, scale it up a little bit. Feels like it's sitting alright. We can always adjust it later. Now,